Hello and welcome to the most magical show in the keyboard community. I'm your host Merlin, and if it's your first time here, welcome. This channel is all about building mechanical keyboards from the software to the hardware aspect. In fact, last Tuesday we ported the Doro 67 into QMK, and on Saturday we built the Hadron V3. It's an ortholinear keyboard and currently still in group buy. Actually, yeah, if you go to ishtab.net/hadron, I think you still have 3 days to buy it, 4 days to buy it. But anyway, how is everyone doing tonight? I see that we have 8 viewers right now. Thank you all for coming and seeing what this show is all about. In fact, we're going to be doing something a little different tonight. The show is called Porting with Ports, because as I teach you how to port boards into QMK, I'll be learning all about the fine world of ports. So believe it or not, this port is only $6.50 from Trader Joe's, and so far it's pretty good. I've been enjoying it. As you can see, I've already drank just a little bit, but as the show goes on, I'll talk about more of my thoughts on it and things I've learned about port. So while I'm at it, might as well pour myself a glass, give myself some liquid courage. All right, let's do that. Hopefully I don't spill anywhere here. All right, there we go. So did you guys know that port is actually, well, at least this one, 19.5% alcohol content. So it could be a very good show tonight. Cheers. Okay, tonight we will be porting the Alf X1.1 into QMK. And let's try that. Here we go. This is the Alf X1.1. It dropped on Mass Drop a month or two ago, I believe. And I believe Alf has been doing some of his own private group buys of this. It's TKL, as you can see. Looks really nice. It's got a cool design on the back, and I don't know what this section is. That looks like, so it almost looks like you could put your phone there or something. He's got his usual Alf logo, and it supports several layouts. Oh wow, that's a lot of colors. You got light blue, orange, pink, black, purple, navy, red, gray, and Everest white. Okay, it's got brass add-on weight and quite a few things, and full QMK programming. So when it says full QMK programming, it's not actually in the QMK repo. It's not actually supported by QMK Configurator, but it's KB firmware compatible. But tonight we are going to be putting it into official QMK. So once again, as always, if anyone there has questions about the process or questions about keyboards in general, and of course questions about port, I will try my best to answer all of them. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Okay. So first things first, when you're putting a board into QMK, you don't have to write all of the code on your own. We have scripts that take care of that for you. For example, if you go into the, there we go, yeah. If you go into the util directory, there is a script called, where is it? New project, newproject.sh. And if you run this and you pass the keyboard that you want into it, it will create all of the vanilla files that you need. So let's run that right now. Okay. So there is already an Alf directory, so we don't need to create that again. Okay. Woo. So that shows you that, there we go. Let's make this a little bit bigger. It shows that it put a new directory, the X11, just because you can't do like a dot in the directories. So before I continue, if you watched my previous streams, I've always forgotten to do this, maybe because it's nerves or something, but we should probably create a branch called the Alf X11. And let's commit this as I go along. Alright. Oh, I forgot to add it. What? Oh, yeah. There we go. I was in the wrong directory, but there we go. So these are the plain Jane vanilla files, and just to see what I'm talking about, there we go. So not sure if you guys can hear that, but today I am probably typing on my noisiest and most tactile board in my possession. Hopefully you guys can see that. Let's make the screen bigger. There we go. This is a board I just recently made. It's a Revo 1. It's a Revo 1 case with a D060 PCB. Powder coated white stainless steel plate, and what I like to call Sky Pandas. Basically, it's a Panda housing with the original Panda spring and Sky and Otemu Sky stems. I built this about 2 weeks ago, and so far I'm liking it. It's extremely tactile. I'd even say it's more tactile than Holy Pandas. Well, it fits my definition of tactility. But after typing on it for a long while, it does start to hurt. So I'm thinking maybe on Saturday or something, I'll swap out the stems to be the silent versions. Just because, I'm not sure if you guys can hear that. That's really, really tactile. And the space bar in particular, it's so tactile that sometimes it binds. So I had to raise it from 67G to 78G. All right. Okay. Let's go back to programming mode right here. Okay. So we just created a bunch of different files. And these are all just, you know, this is all generated by that script. All that's different about this is the name of the file. There was talk of drinking, says Yan. Hello, yes. Porting with ports. I'm drinking Porto Morgado. It is a tawny port from Trader Joe's. Only $6.50, and you get a bottle this big. I'm gonna put it next to my head for a size comparison. So far, it's very tasty. I poured a glass out for myself here. 19.5% alcohol, and so far so good. You must take a sip for each file you open. Oh no. No, I think that's actually I think it's actually against like Twitch policy if you like if you if you do things like that, like if you take donations for it, like one sip per donation, or you know, if you have an action that leads to more drinking on screen. But while I'm at it, there was a famous winery here in Washington called, actually I forgot the name. Let me look it up really quick. Okay, it's the Chateau Saint Michel, and I took a tour there once, and they showed us how to savor your wine. So, for example, once you poured it out like this, you're supposed to smell it first. So you're like ah, and then you're supposed to let it breathe by shaking it up a bit, like so. And then when you smell it again, it should smell different. Yeah, that does smell different. So at the time, we did white wines and red wines, but we did not do a port. So I'm glad to know that it works for ports too. But let's go back to programming. Oh my gosh, thanks, Talisman. Actually, one thing I'm exploring with this is because ports, well, wine in general can get expensive, but I also want to have fun with this. You know, like this better not be the only port that I ever drink. I would like to learn more about it. So, for everyone watching, all 12 of you today, I'm going to say that the person who has donated the most bits on this episode, just this episode, will get to dictate what port I try next week. And please, please, please don't be like, hey, Merlin, I got this $150 port for you to try. You need to get it. No, 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 no. This is, for reference, this is $650. So please don't be too absurd, okay? Yeah. Yeah, $6.50, not 650. But yeah, that is my deal. Oh my word. Yeah. Thanks, Yan. Thanks for the bits. He says, and then you're supposed to spit it out, but not on your date. Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. But let's get back to programming. Okay, so first things first, I always like to replace all this stuff with Macmillan. So the reason why it changes like that is because the script grabs it from your git config file, and for git configs and for git in general, I like having this all lowercase, but on the actual files I prefer them to have 2 capital M's. So we're just going through all of them, replacing all the lowercase Macmillans. There we go. That should be the last one. So you might not have to do this if your git config matches what you want the file names to be. And next thing I like to do is fix up the README. So the README is pretty generic, doesn't really tell you anything. And I don't have any imgur links for this board, and I'm not sure that I can link directly to a mass drop image. So we are just going to fix this up. Alf X1.1 TKL keyboard made by Alf. Yeah. Put my name there. Hardware supported. TKL Alf X1.1 PCB. Hardware availability. I'm not sure what the Alf link was, but I'm just gonna link whatever the mass drop one was. Mass drop. This looks like it. Mass drop. And there we go. That's good. And what other things do we need to set up just to get rid of the vanilla stuff? Config file looks fine. This one right here. Manufacturer is Alf. TKL custom keyboard. And anything else here? Nope. 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 Okay, great. So let's just... I guess VS Code doesn't take my fonts properly here. Okay, once you've edited all of that extra stuff, you're ready to actually port this keyboard into QMK. So how do you do that? I was handed a KB firmware file, which we can then use KB firmware to build. If you were to create your hex file, if you were to create your key map and hex directly from KB firmware and load it on your Alf X1.1, the keyboard will work just fine. You'll be able to use it just like any other keyboard, but please do keep in mind that KB firmware uses a version of QMK that's roughly 2.5 years old now, so it doesn't have a lot of the optimizations, the enhancements, and any new features that we've put in. Most of all though, if you use this and there's a problem, I actually don't know who you would reach out to for kbfirmware.com. Like, it still even says QMK firmware by Jack Humbert. We would have to help you with this, but since we don't actually own the source for this, we wouldn't know if anything was wrong. But regardless, KB firmware is still useful. Ooh, Talisman says, by way of information, I have extensive programming experience, especially in C, which apparently is not a universal skill in the keyboard community. Lots of JavaScript and TypeScript programmers these days, and some C++, but not a lot of C programmers. Indeed. I think here at the University of Washington, they start off most freshmen with Java, and they progress to, I think it's Python. But don't quote me on that. It's been a while since I've been in college, and I did not go to the University of Washington either. That's just what I've heard. But while we're on KB firmware, basically you just want to upload there you go, right there. So KB firmware is extremely useful because it gives you a visual representation of your switch matrix, like this. You can see the pins used. These are all the pins used by the microcontroller and what some of the LEDs do. And you can make your key map like I mentioned earlier. You can see how many RGB LEDs there are, and of course you can compile the hex and download the source file. But just to touch on this a little bit more, I have seen instances where the segment right here is not correct. Like, I can't remember which board, but there was a board that said this only had one RGB LED, and it was like a full size or like something like that. And I was just thinking to myself, what's the point? It's gotta be a mistake. And sure enough, when I saw the PCB, I'm like, Yeah, that looks like that's 16, not 1. Maybe they just missed the 6. But we have all this information at our disposal, and what we want to do is put it into QMK. Let's start off with the config file. Okay. So first and foremost, we want to establish the bounds of our switch matrix. Basically, how many rows and how many columns there are. And this guy has 7 rows and 13 columns. 7 rows and 13 columns. Next up, we need to define what each of those row pins and what each of those column pins are. And let's go back to this. So basically you just jot these down in the right order and jot these down in the right order. And I say right order because you absolutely have to keep them in the right order, otherwise everything else will get messed up. So because this one's a bigger board than I'm used to, I've written them down elsewhere. So the rows go from B0 all the way till B6. B1, B2, B3, B4, B5, B6. And then the columns go from D0 through D7. D3, D4, D5, D6, D7, and then it goes F0, F1, F4, F5, and finally F6. And let's fix it up. There we go. Just to make sure I have that correct. Yeah, looks good. Looks good. Okay. And next up, we need to do the backlight pin. You can just uncomment this. And it is, the backlight is B7, that's correct. And then RGB pin, all that good stuff. RGB is F7, and I did not actually need to uncomment all of that. There we go. And how many RGBs were there again? There were 28. Okay. The Balmer peak. Yes. Actually, for those of you who don't know what the Balmer peak is, here we go. Let you guys gaze upon the beauty of this comic while I take a few more sips. Basically, there's a point where you drink just enough alcohol that you become top level programmer. I actually don't know why it's called the Balmer peak. Okay, so we have our config file done. Bam. Okay. So let's see, anything else? Nope. Next up, we want to edit our rules.mk. The rules.mk contains, I like to call this is where you're able to turn the features of QMK on and off. This is something we want to put in QMK Configurator in the future, but as it stands now, QMK configurator will grab whatever we currently set this to. So we need to set this to appeal to the greatest number of people possible. And basically, I believe that more people use the QMK configurator than actually cloning the QMK firmware repo and compiling all of their stuff. So one thing that I don't like about all these group buys is sometimes they don't give you enough information about the PCB. Like, does this PCB have a hardware reset switch on the back? And if you look at the back, I don't see any holes. So, actually, I wonder if they have other. Okay. Okay, well, there is nothing on the back that indicates that there is a hardware reset switch, and even if there was, to access it, you would have to take your keyboard apart. So in this case, we want to enable a feature called Boot Magic. Boot Magic is the feature that allows you to hold a special key combination, most commonly it was space and B, while you're plugging in your keyboard to put it into bootloader mode. If you set this to yes, it also comes with a bunch of other features that allow you to swap keys around. And in some cases, it can mess you up pretty badly. So we've come up with a new feature called Boot Magic Lite, which is specifically only the special reset sequence. In this case, this sets that key to the key located on row 0, column 0. And what do I mean by row and column 0? We'll talk about that shortly, but we will go through the rest of this just to make sure it's all there. So this board had a backlight pin, so we want to set it to yes, and it also had RGB, so we want to set that to yes as well. And all that should be good. Yes. All right, yeah, this will probably work for the majority of people out there. Okay. Okay. Now this is the part that's the trickiest out of this entire mess. We want to edit the x11.h file. The x11.h file basically talks about your switch matrix. And we're going to talk about this section right here called the layout macro. Just for reference, the K stands for key, and each of these numbers, the first number stands for the row number, and the second number stands for the column number. So in this case, this would be the key located in row 1, column 0. For this guy right here, it would be the key located at row 1, column 1. And as you can see, this layout macro has two parts, and they're pretty similar. So what's the difference? Hey, what's up, Not Geo? Welcome to Porting with Ports, a new series that I'm putting out. It's basically the same as what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, but with a twist. And I've made the announcement that basically I would like to learn more about ports. So whoever donates the most bits for this episode only gets to dictate which port I attempt to purchase next week. Okay, so we're going back to the layout macro. Yes, this bottom part here represents the switch matrix, the electrical switch matrix basically how each of the switches connects to your microcontroller. And this top part here is the physical matrix, in which how each of those switches are put on your board. And in most cases, in most KBD fans cases, and a lot of other keyboards I've seen, they are almost identical. But if you were to try and port over a board that was previously bootmapper client capable, the physical matrix would be all over the place. So how do you create this? How do you create this? This is where we need to look back over to KB firmware and click on wiring. So as you can see, this is really ugly. This is hard to see. You know, like, how are you supposed to follow all of this, right? So all these black numbers here, these represent the different column numbers, and these red ones going top to bottom are all the numbers representing rows, and it matches all of this wiring. So the red wiring is a row wiring, the black wire is a column wire. And you know, as you dig around here, it gets really, really crazy. Like, I'm like, do you follow this wire or not? What you can do is you can click on the key. Oh, what happened there? You can click on the key, like so. And when you scroll down, it will tell you which row and which column that key is a part of. So yeah, see, like, some of them get really tricky. Like, what the heck is this one supposed to be? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what we want to do is recreate this. Recreate this switch matrix as part of your layout over here. So first things first, you can make the electrical switch matrix. So it's got how many columns again? It's got 13 columns. Okay. So this is the easiest part of making the matrix. It's all sequential. So everyone on chat, are any of you actually already port experts? Like port experts? Because I would really like to learn more. Why is my terminal font messed up? I don't know why. It's when I just installed Powerline, and it's not working very well for VS Code, but it seems to work really well when I'm just on regular terminal. So something I have to figure out. I don't think VS Code likes the font packs that I've installed. Okay. Okay. 13. There we go. Was it 13? Yes, it was 13. 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay. All right. So we need to do this a couple more times. 5 more times. Neither do I. In fact, I don't drink alcohol, says Joshna. That's probably a good life choice to make. Okay, what was I doing here? Oh yeah, I want 7 rows. That's what I want. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Too many carbs, and it has some interactions with some of my meds. Yes, please do not drink alcohol if you're on medication. It could lead to bad results. Ooh, thanks, Olivia. I'm gonna have to copy and paste that for later. And yes, definitely alcohol will give you some carbs, especially if you drink a lot of beer. I was really into wheat ales a few years ago, and I drank it quite regularly that I developed quite a big tummy. The different classifications. Yeah, it's like I've just never drank port a lot, so you know, I just want to expand my horizons. But if you guys do, basically, whoever gives the most bits just for this episode gets to determine which port I attempt next week. But if you do happen to be the winner, do not, please don't suggest some crazy expensive port. For reference, the port that I'm drinking tonight is $6.50 from Trader Joe's. And that's for the entire bottle. I could probably afford maybe $30 or $40 for a bottle, but definitely not more than that. Okay, if I win, can I make you come to the Port of Montreal? You can try, and I can definitely try as well, but I cannot, in fact, leave the United States right now. Olivia, and her little cat. Okay, so what I have created right now is the switch matrix. This represents all of the switches that can possibly be connected to your microcontroller given the size of it right now. So what's going to happen is we are going to take each of these keys and insert it into the physical matrix right here. And for keys that we don't use, we'll replace it with a KC-No. So to figure out what keys those are, like, we have to go back to KB firmware. Not yet. Not yet. Merkmelon ports blindly. Do you want someone? Yes, I do port blindly, but I do have Old Cat. Old Cat seems to get all of the boards that are like, oh, it's still in group buy, but I'm gonna get it. I guess if I spruced up on my Mandarin, and if I could actually read Mandarin really quick, I bet I could get on their, well, I'm already on their QQ channel or whatever it's called, but sometimes the conversation just goes so fast. I'm like trying to read one sentence and then like 10 more pop up and I'm like, okay, slow down. But yeah, it's been the last time I've had to like read Mandarin like really quick was back when I was in middle school, and my parents would drop me off at the comic store while they did their errands, and I would just read Mandarin comics like that. And I would have to read them fast because my parents were quick with their errands. So I would just read them as fast as I could. But that's more than 15 years ago by now. Old cat is fat cat for keys. Okay, we're gonna do our physical layout right here. Okay, So the way you make your physical layout is you literally have to match it to whatever this is. For example, this top row right here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 keys. Therefore, this top row has to have 16 keys as well. What those keys are, we can click and find out. So I'm like reading this section right here. That's 0, 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, A, B, C, and then it changes. Okay. Well, let's do all the way up till C first, lest I get confused, which I will definitely be confused because I'm normally confused even without the alcohol. So let's see how this goes tonight, guys. Okay. So that was the C. So now you have row 6 and 0. And then 6, 1 and 6, 2. Okay, perfect. 6, 1, K, 6, 2. Okay. Now we need to do that second bit. Okay, row 1. It's fine. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. A, B, C, and then it changes. Okay. I guess it goes all the way till C. Oop. What was that supposed to be? It's K. There we go. K. Okay. That's 5, 10. Wow. Okay. It's 5A. 5A. 6, 3, 6, 5, 6, 7. 6, 3, 6, 5, 6, 7. Okay, 6, 5, 6, 3, and 6, 7. Okay, so basically you can keep doing this till the cows come home, you know, and definitely do not trace this by yourself with your eye. You're bound to make mistakes. Like, do what I'm doing, click here, and check these numbers here and populate as you can. That's how you do it manually. But in the recent weeks, No Roads left a very, how would you say it? A very frequent contributor to QMK created a tool that would make this whole process incredibly easy. It's called KB Firmware JSON to QMK Parser. And what you do is you take a KB firmware type JSON, such as the one that I have right now, load it up, and when you press open, it populates all these files for you, just like that. Just like that. Joshna says it's cheating. It definitely is cheating. I do not, I am not debating that. It is definitely cheating. But, you know, I could say the same about that new project script in the util directory. But basically what you can do in this case is, like, we've already gone through the config.h, we've already gone through rules.mk. What's the most useful right now is this right here. So we are going to grab this, copy and paste it into our code. And bam. So I fooled you all. It's not actually a porting. It's actually just me copy and pasting code. So I'm glad that he made this tool because it makes QMK porting accessible to everyone. I believe that everyone can copy and paste and can open up files in a website. I'm really hoping that, but if not, knock on wood. Okay. So here is one of the drawbacks of KB firmware. KB firmware only does one layout, and that layout is this. So it's a layout that has a split right shift and your standard bottom row of a 6.25U key. Everything else is 1.25U. But if you remember, looking over here, we see that there is an alternate bottom row, the one with what looks like a 7U spacebar, 1.5, 1, 1.5, and it's also got a regular shift and the option to do an ISO key. All those are important except the very last one. Just kidding, but I just had to do that. You don't need to do ISO. So with the KB firmware file, this is really as far as you can go in terms of the switch matrix. So on top of that, once you've done this, once you've created this matrix, Geo says no short left shift for ISO though. That is correct. You are missing that extra key. So maybe it's just people who like the ISO enter key, but not so much the other aspects of it. Just a quick question. Are any of you in this group by the Alf X1.1? Because it looks really good. I don't particularly like TKLs as much, though I like looking at them. I think it's like how I feel about SA. You know, SA looks really, really good, and I love seeing SA caps on any keyboard, but to actually use it, it's like, though I do like all uniform profile SA on linear switches. That's just the way that I figured out that I like SA. And also, if you have a flat angled board, SA tends to feel really good on that. But because I like angled boards, I try my best not to buy too many SA profile caps. Yeah, okay, well, look at that. It's even, okay, so this is the funny thing. It gives you the layout, right? And then when you look at the actual photo, you see that there are blockers there. So I'm very confused if, are there different tops? Do you have an option of a different top? Why is there that extra win key? And why is this layout even possible? Oh, I don't know. That's not for me to figure out. That's for all the group buyers who participated to figure out on their own. Okay, let's get back to this. After you've created this layout. So if you've seen this before, especially in older versions of QMK, you might have seen this as key map or something, or something quite similar. Within the last year, we've tried to name the layout macro actually layout. So we do layout underscore some description like so. In this case, since there's only one layout that we can do, we'll just call it layout. And this entire definition has to match what's in your keymap.c file. So here we go. And I'm going to do some copy pasta magic once again. Okay, nope, that's not it. Here we go. Keymap.c. Look at that. Thank you, No Roads, if you're watching this. We are going to copy and paste this keymap in. Boop. Beautiful. Okay, so if all goes well, I should be able to just, am I in the right? No, I'm not. I'm still on keyboards. I should just be able to run this command right here, create the default keymap, and it should compile. We have all the parts already, right? Let's try. And boom, there we go. The firmware is too large, 3,700 bytes over. Okay, that's a problem. I kind of expected that. So one thing we can do is turn off a few of these features that people don't normally use, and also grab, let's see, oop, and also grab a few, well, let's see. What I'm doing right now is I always forget what the optimization flag is, so I always have to refer to my notes. But basically what you can do is do extra flags, like so. And maybe, just maybe, that will compile. I still think it's going to have like oh, there we go, 1564, but it cut it down a lot. So something we can remove from here that will still make a majority of the people happy. I know lots of people like audio control, so we can't remove that. And I've met quite a few people who love mouse keys. So what I usually like to do is turn off console enable and command enable. Like so. And if we build it, it should be within the right bounds. There we go, 7,066 bytes free. Awesome. We're good. We're good. And I'm just going to commit what work I have right now. There we go. Yeah, I suppose I could, but I'll just leave it in there for now. Okay, so now we have brought the Alf X1.1 into QMK, and anyone who clones this repo once I've submitted it will be able to create their own keymap. They'll be able to use the layout that we've provided, and they will have all of the features that we've enabled in rules.mk. This is good for people who used QMK a year or two ago, but as we know, a lot of people used QMK Configurator. In order to do that, we need to modify the info.json file. So the info.json file is what the QMK configurator uses to build the layout. Basically, the info.json takes this physical layout here and, how can I say this, makes it look pretty. Okay. So the way to do that is, okay, we want to take this layout right here, this TKL layout, and then you have to go to keyboard layout editor and recreate it, so to speak. So do they have a, yes they do. Okay. Do they not have a TKL? No TKL. Yep. I guess I'll just have to delete the numpad. Delete. 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 Oops. Delete. 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 And delete. There you go. We now have a TKL. And it was a split right shift. Split right shift. Bam. And I want to remove all of the legends. There we go. Does that look the same? Yes, it does. Okay. So because we have KB firmware, we can see the layout. We can see all of this already. So it's very easy to make sure you have the right number of keys visually. But if you didn't have this visual representation, what you would have to do is look right back over here and basically match the number of keys per row and per column. For example, this top row here has 16. So we would have to ensure that this top row has 16. The next two rows have 17. So this one would have to be 17, 17, so forth and so on. Each row has to have the same number of keys. And after you've done that, you can go to raw data right here, take that output, copy it, and throw it into, there we go, qmk.fm/converter, paste it into input, press convert, take all that information and copy and paste it into the info.json. If you're unable to do that and don't want to go through that entire process, No-Roads tool also has an info.json tab, which he's formatted rather nicely. So you can also copy and paste this. See, look, he also labels it with the actual switch. So this is really, really good. Copy output to the necessary file. Oh, that's a new button right there. Awesome. You can copy it. Wait, that's not it. Let's just copy it right there. Okay. Copy to clipboard. Okay, that didn't quite work the way I expected. But once you've copied this all out and you want to double check your work, what you can do is go to the actual configurator, locate at config.qmk.fm, and oh yes, if you haven't seen the new configurator, this is it. We've made a few changes. it's not so colorless anymore. You're able to pick some fancy key sets. And since Olivia is watching right now, I'm gonna pick GMK Olivia just to show her some love. And this is something I was inspired from by looking at VIA as well. If you hover over one of your keys, you'll get a little description of what it is. So all these other key codes are just KC underscore whatever, but once you go to like some of the special QMK features, it tells you what it is. Yeah. Anyway, if you want to see if your info.json is made correctly, go to config.qmk.fm. It doesn't matter what keyboard you have loaded up, or if you even have one loaded up. You have to press Control plus Shift and I. And it'll open up a dialog that will ask you to... Oh, that's weird. Where did I put all that stuff? Oh, I must have changed my folder directory. Hold on, let me try that. Where did I end up putting this? Oh, yeah, I put it in my coding directory. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so we want... Yeah, there you go. So once you've picked your info.json, and if you coded it properly, I'm assuming you did if you just copy and pasted, once you hit open, it will showcase a nice looking keyboard. There we go. Look at that. And that should match exactly what you put up like this. And in our case, it should match KB firmware. So that looks pretty good right now. First glass finished indeed, refill. Yeah, this is actually really, really tasty. So just a few notes on port. Port is a very, very sweet wine. It's one of the sweetest I've tried. 19.5% alcohol content and probably a lot of sugar. Doesn't quite say how much sugar there is, but apparently there are two types of port. I was talking to the guy at Trader Joe's and I asked him, hey, what's a good port to try? And he recommended this, and he said it's a tawny port. Apparently the two kinds of ports are tawny and I think it's a ruby port. A tawny port is actually aged in barrels, whereas a ruby port is as soon as it's ready, it's bottled right away. So it's a brighter color, but it's not as sweet as the tawny port. So maybe next time I'll try a ruby port just to differentiate with this one. But okay, so we have that all done right now. Your port is ready to go, but I just want to make sure everything is, there we go. Yay. Okay. Oh yes. So one note about the README. Always double check that you have it right. Because for example, if you don't put the right number of spaces, like if you did that, this is what happens. So you want to have the right number of spaces. And you won't really know until you check it out in like the markdown preview. So funny story. When I first became a QMK collaborator, as I was going through a code review, someone angrily said, "How come you guys are so strict? You're even like commenting on the number of spaces I put in my README." And he gave me a bunch of hate mail about that until I showed him that these spaces are actually necessary. We're not just being anal and saying like after hardware supported you need 4 spaces. You know, you actually need it, otherwise the markdown preview won't render correctly. But yeah, that's an example that I always remember. Nice, Yan. Important. Okay. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going through all of the code, making sure there's nothing. Let me consult the notes. I purposely wrote notes for tonight's show because I'm not sure how much I could remember. So let's see. What am I missing? Oh yes, okay. So if you look at KB Firmware once again, look at the pins, you'll see that we have numlock, caps lock, and scroll lock pins. This is for backlighting. No, actually this is not for backlighting. This is for the lock pin. So basically when you press it, the LED will light up. If you turn it off, the LED will be off. So we need to take care of this too. Drashna says, should change that matrix init user function to keyboard post init user. You better use GPIO. Yes, we'll have to change the scripts to generate the correct things. But here we go. This is what we can do. Okay. So if you want to set the LEDs, you need to be in the keyboard.c file, and the function you want to edit is right here. And here we go. So before, I'm going to bring up like an example. What is a good example to show? Drashna mentioned using GPIO. So before, there's so many examples of, what's an example here? E6v2, yes, exclusive. You know, while I'm doing this, I might as well pour myself another glass. I'll follow Jan's advice. But for people who are just tuning in, we are putting in caps lock, scroll lock, and numlock support because I forgot to do that. And the funny thing is, if you look at my other VODs, you'll see that I've consistently been forgetting that. And I think the reason is I don't use LEDs for any of my boards. I think the only board that I have LED on is somewhere here. Oh, here it is my HS60. And the only reason why I have LEDs on it is because they were surface mount to begin with. So yeah, just never. I like to open my switches, and whenever you solder in an LED, it just becomes that much more difficult. So, okay, what I was trying to show here is an example of what people used to do. Here we go. LED set, LED underscore set underscore user. And this works, but as you can see, it's harder to read. I think I think within the last 2 months or so, we're doing something different. So let me show you what that different is. Okay, there we go. So we have these new routines that make it all better. So, is it correct? If LED is on, let's start with the caps lock. Oh, it did it automatically. Great. Let's do num lock first. So we need to do 3 of these guys. Okay, so I'm going to make a big assumption here. I'm going to make a big assumption here that when the LED is on, you want to do a right pin low. And this is the disadvantage of not having the board on you, because I can't actually test that this is correct. But I will wait upon the great old cat. Okay, so basically what we want to pass in here are the pins. So for caps lock, caps lock was C6. Let's take a look at that just to be absolutely sure. C6. Yep. So we could just do that. For num lock, it was E6. And for scroll lock, it's C7. C7. Oops. All right. Pin low, right pin high, E6, E6, C7, C7. Man. So I think next time I'd like a smaller bottle, because I've drank this twice today. And I'm not sure how much I'll drink it, because I don't actually drink a lot of alcohol. Okay. So this should make it so all that stuff should work. I'm missing something. Let me look it up in my notes. Okay, there we go. So we actually need to set all these pins to have output. Okay. C6, E6, and C7. C6, E6, and C7. C6, E6, and C7. Okay. All right. Is there anything else I need to do for this? Let's try compiling it. Oh wait, I was already in there. Oh no! It didn't compile. What did I do wrong? Uh-oh. Oh gosh. All my semicolons. There you go. Woo. All right. This should work. Of course, I won't know until someone actually loads it. I'm on the Alf Discord, and I do see talk about this board. The group buy seems to have run in September, so that's been a ways back. It's probably shipping soon. I don't know, but I'm sure someone will complain to me. All right. Yes, Drashna, you're saying missing some semicolons. Yes, I definitely missed some semicolons. I write Ruby at work, so I've definitely avoided the use of semicolons. Colons. Okay. Yeah, I think that's it. There we go. Alf X1. Okay. Woo. Okay, so when did I start this? 7:30. It's now 8:48, an hour and 10 minutes. So if I had to do that the long way, by long way I mean actually like, where is that? Here. Going through each one of these, I think that would probably have added another 15, 20 minutes. Just verifying that, because then I would have to create the key map as well. And if I didn't have KB firmware, if I had to like map the matrix myself, I probably would only be halfway done right now, just mapping the matrix. So KB firmware and also No Roads tool helps considerably. This was just this is an hour and 10 minutes with me explaining everything that I'm doing and even drinking port. But yeah, porting boards into QMK is not difficult, and even you can do it as well. Of course, I'm making the assumption that you know how to use Git and you know how to set up a QMK environment, but if you don't, I think I'll be making a tutorial on that online in the near future. But now that I've pushed it over to my fork, I will file a PR. Pull requests. We have 122 PRs. Great. blood alcohol level 0.09. I actually don't know what the legal blood alcohol level is. Legal blood alcohol level. Okay, 0.08%. Well, good thing I'm not driving. Well, the only thing I'm driving is my keyboard. I'm actually going straight to bed after this. Okay, there you go. Alf X1.1 QMK support. To be more realistic in terms of duration, you need to add in the distractions common with significant others and children. Okay, yeah, that's true. When I first started doing this, what's the first board I ported? I think it was the Face W. The Face W made by Sprit and sold on mechanicalkeyboards.com. That took me, it was very similar to the Be Fake, but there were some things a little bit off. That took me, just tracing the matrix on my own, took me a good 3 hours. And that's a 60% board. And I remember doing this at a coffee shop in downtown Bellevue. My wife was just sitting there staring at me and being like, "What are you doing?" You're in the middle of a coffee shop and you're, here, let me pull it out. And your stupid little multimeter is going like, it's like, I'm just going like, I could definitely feel the stares of other people in that coffee shop. But I got it done. I got it done for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely got it done for sure. And Talisman says, also you have complete familiarity with the code base. I wouldn't say complete familiarity, but I do have familiarity with the parts of code that I am known to touch. Yes. Thank you, Talisman. Yeah, considering that I ported this fine while drinking port, I would like to dedicate this episode to No Roads Left, because I didn't have to think too hard tonight. Okay, let me finish writing this PR. Describe your changes here. Put in the Alf X1.1 from KB firmware using No Roads. I'm gonna tag him. I clicked someone else. What the hell? No roads left. Okay. Using no roads tool. No roads left tool. Okay. I don't like that asterisk. Labels. Keyboard. Okay. Feature into base master. Great. Create pull request. Keyboard. My code follows the code cell of this project. Yes. My change requires documentation. No. I've updated the documentation accordingly. Yes. Nope. Yes. I've added tests to cover my changes. I've compiled it, it compiles. I've tested the changes and verified that they work and don't break anything. Sure, sure. Okay, alright. Now, this is the waiting game. Sometimes you can port a keyboard into QMK faster than your PR can be reviewed and merged. Okay, well, okay, so if you were to do a QMK port and to PR it, depending on how you've done it, it can take, I don't know, I'm usually the one, well, it's Drashna and I looking at all of the new keyboard support. I would say those are the fastest. Those are the fastest. Of course, if you were to just take the output from Keyboard Firmware Builder, for example, if you were to compile and just download the .zip file and submit it as is, you're going to encounter a lot of pushback from us, mainly because they're going to be like, hey, your layout macro is still called keymap, please fix that. And there's a bunch of other things, like, for example, let's look at the code here. If you look at your .h file, any of your .h files, we use pragma1s instead of the if not defined clauses. And what else do we change? Oh yeah, so if you were to do KB firmware, your keyboard.c and your keyboard.h files will be called kb.h, kb.c. And yeah, there's just a bunch of changes, so just don't do that, please. Ooh. Let's see. Drashna's on top of it. I can see him right there. Look at him. Awaiting requested review. Did he put anything in? Self-requested a review. Self-requested a review. Okay. No. Okay. Anyway, that is it. And I'm going to transition to another scene, and hopefully I won't be doing mimes this time. So let's see. Let's cross our fingers. Let's do this. Can you guys hear me? Okay. I'm seeing some audio there. Okay, good. We're good. We're good. Finally, I got it fixed. For some reason, every time I transition to this scene, it would shut off my audio for some reason. So I'd be this like, you know, so thankfully it's working right now. Okay. All right. So yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Thank you to the 9 viewers who are on the show. If you've been here from the beginning or just came in at the very end, thank you so much for trying to learn some QMK with me tonight and hearing me talk about port. And yeah, if you want to see more content, especially on YouTube, which is what I started off on, I am doing a regular porting with ports. So rather than a 1 hour, maybe a 2 hour Twitch stream, which you have to scrub through, I'll be releasing parts of the porting process in small 3 to 5 minute segments. So please keep an eye out for that. I believe the first episode will be released either tomorrow morning or Thursday. I got a few edits to make, and it's going to be how to trace your keyboard and how to find your switch matrix. So keep an eye out for that. Follow me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter as well. I'm on Discord. And if you like what you're seeing, please send me more bits. Please send me a donation so I can buy more port and upgrade my equipment here. And ooh. Yes, Talisman, you are the current winner for today's bit challenge with 222 bits. Thank you so much. So you get to dictate what port I buy next week. Hopefully you give me something I can easily find and I don't need to port. Random tidbit. Port can actually only be called port if it's from Portugal. I learned that today. And in particular, calling it Porto needs to come from, I think, the city called Porto. But I'm trying to finish up here, so no more talk about port, okay? Oh yeah, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, follow me on Instagram, And definitely, if you have any questions about this process, I am available on Discord. MacMerlin #2999. Thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you all on my next Twitch stream or on YouTube.